doodly 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 doop boop 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 boop. There we go. Hi. Hi. Welcome to week 2. Even though I'm actually recording this in the middle of week 1. Yesterday was Tuesday. Yesterday I met half of you, more or less, at school, and it was super cool to be in a classroom with real people for the first time in almost 2 years. If I haven't met you yet, well, that'll happen soon, or depending on when you're watching this, maybe happened already. Anyway, that was fun. I look forward to more of that. To remind everyone of how this works is that basically the lab portion of things is meant to be fun and hands-on and mostly analog based, film based, to give you an understanding of how it all comes together. That said, feel free, bring questions, bring problems, and let us use that time together to clarify anything that is lost in translation here with the online part of things. So what I want to do now is just sort of run you through week 2 and what week 2 is all about. Let's see, quick screencast, that's this. Let's see, week 2 learning outcomes. Yeah, quickly, all right. Let's see, fine-tuning the camera stuff. Look, I gave you so much content last week. Don't skip it. Okay? If you ingested it, but then maybe just skipped over some things, what I want you to do this week is go back, go through it slowly. I'm intentionally giving you a sort of light amount of stuff this week because I know there was so much thrown at you last week that I want to make sure that you really get as much as possible from that. Okay, so go back to that. Basically, it's a week where we dive further into the camera portion of things and make sure that the camera stuff starts to click and make sense for you. And then also this week, talk about your rights as a photographer, workflow, download, how to download your pictures, and how to use Adobe Bridge. Now, do you need to use Adobe Bridge for anything this week? No. But you will need to know how to use Adobe Bridge to complete the scavenger hunt assignment. There are also steps here to complete the scavenger hunt assignment. Now, the scavenger hunt assignment is not actually due until the 21st, but I'm giving you the steps now so you can sort of move toward that. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to keep this part of things pretty brief. So there is a video here, Nailed 'em, that is just a funny little Colbert Report video that directly relates to this PDF, The Photographer's Right. It's super important that you know your rights as a photographer out in the world. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I will go ahead right now and read you this section, the general rule. The general rule in the United States is that anyone may take photographs of whatever they want when they are in a public place or places they have permission to take photographs. Absent a specific legal prohibition, such as a statute or ordinance, you are legally entitled to take photographs. Examples of places that are traditionally considered public are streets, sidewalks, and public parks. Property owners may legally prohibit photography on their premises, but have no right to prohibit others from photographing their property from other locations. Whether you need permission from property owners to take photographs while on the premises depends on the circumstances. In most places, you may reasonably assume that taking photographs is allowed and that you do not need explicit permission. However, this is a judgment call, and you should request permission when the circumstances suggest that the owner is likely to object. In any case, when a property owner tells you not to take photographs while on the premises, you are legally obligated to honor the request. What this means for students. The very first time I ever taught digital photography at Clark College, I had a student in that class, and he, uh, he, oh man, um, the scavenger hunt changes, okay, but there's always been one. And I sort of tweak it every term or two or three, and sort of float around a little bit with current events. I don't know, different ideas. But there's always a challenge on the scavenger hunt. We are to photograph the same scene twice, one where you're freezing motion, one where you're blurring motion. You are dealing with that right now. Well, this student, and I'll give you a physical description of him. He was a middle-aged man with a ponytail, and he only ever wore a black trench coat. I bring that up because I feel like it feeds into what's about to happen, right? So, dude is dealing with that scavenger hunt assignment over at the park near Clark College, and he makes the somewhat unfortunate decision to photograph the most convenient moving subject in front of him, which is a group of 14-year-old girls playing soccer at the park. So he doesn't really think too much of it. He said in hindsight he should have noticed that a mom was kind of giving him the stink eye, but he's sitting there like middle-aged dude in the trench coat in the park is photographing this group of girls. And then the next thing he knows, there's a tap on his shoulder, and he turns around, and it's two cops. And the cops want to know what he's doing, and he's explaining to them how fast shutter speeds freeze motion and slow shutter speeds blur motion. He shows them their assignment, the assignment for the class, and the cops say, well, just come on back to the car. Let's talk about it. And the way he described it was that basically they played good cop, bad cop with him. One of them basically told him that he was clearly a pedophile and should rot in prison. The other one told him, well, yeah, you're attracted to girls, but we can help people like you. Now, look, did he do anything illegal? No, not at all. But did the cops keep him in the back of their car for half an hour and grill him and embarrass him in the neighborhood where he had spent his entire life living? He said he was sitting in the back of the cop car and watched his neighbors drive by. Look, the thing is it's important to know what is legal, right? So you can stand in the street, you can go to a park, you can photograph anyone in public property, but it doesn't mean they're going to like it. Okay, so it's important to recognize that there are there are differences between legality and just being ethical. And so I would recommend all of you just don't be sneaky and don't be shy. Like, it's okay to talk to people. It's okay to say, hey, I'm taking a photo class at Clark. Would you mind if I did this thing? Most of the time, that works. People are cool with that. People say, yeah, okay, no problem, cool. Sometimes that doesn't work, but, that's okay too. You'll just find someone who's okay with it. You all have the best excuse anyone could ever have, which is simply you're in a photo class. And I did have one situation where a student was photographing outside a house, and a voice comes from inside the house. Student was photographing something in the yard. Voice comes from inside the house and says, "What the hell are you doing?" And the student says, "Sorry, I was making a picture for class. I'm taking a photo class." And the student said, "Where?" And he told her the school. And then she's like, "Who's your teacher?" And he told her, "It's me." She's like, "Oh, I took his class. I liked it." And then she came out and they started talking, and they actually became photo friends. They were neighbors who, had both taken the same photo class. Anyway, don't be shy. Don't be sneaky. Know your rights. I have so many stories along that, I like to turn this into a half-hour lecture, but I just don't have time right now. So, well, I have time. I want you to not have to spend your time. Let's see. Other things that are here on the weekly thing. Workflow. I want you to just know the steps that we follow in digital photography, right? We make the pictures, we download the pictures, meaning we transfer the pictures to the hard drive. Organize and archive the pictures. Archive means backup, right? Now, one thing I will stress and stress and stress and stress, back up your files. If you can only put them on one device, your hard drive, for example, okay, it's not ideal, but okay. If there are pictures you super care about out of that batch, at least back up the ones you super care about to the cloud. It says print contact sheet. We'll get into contact sheets later. You don't have to print anything, but I go back and forth. Contact sheets are kind of nice to have printed out. Contact sheet is a reference sheet with all of your pictures on it, little thumbnails. I wouldn't print anything these days, but you can make PDFs, and I'll show you how. In fact, you'll be turning in contact sheets in PDF form for most of the assignments in this class. Then you edit your individual photos in Photoshop. We will not be doing that for the first assignment, the scavenger hunt assignment, but we will be doing that for every assignment after that. After you edit your photos, then you want to make sure that you are saving them again in that new form and also possibly backing them up again. That's enough on that for now. Let's see. Other things that are here within the week. Let's see. So there's a screencast about how to download your photos. There's a screencast about how to use Adobe Bridge, and there's a screencast about completing the scavenger hunt assignment. Scavenger hunt assignment's not due yet, again, but giving you that content here now. A couple other things that you got to know. How to find and access the Adobe software. Do that. Do that this week. Load that software onto your computer. I say this week because I want that done so you don't run into troubles next week when you're trying to complete the assignment. Okay, so have these problems as soon as possible so we can get it solved. Now, when I say have these problems, what that means, let's see. How to find and access the Adobe software. There's a PDF here that walks you through the steps, but I'll just show you. Where am I? Here we are. First step is click this little button that says Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, I want you to see that I click that button and nothing happens on my screen. I click it again. Nothing happens on my screen. So the reason that I'm having these problems, I'm going through the problems in case you have them, is one, I'm using an incognito window here. And if you look, I have third-party cookies blocked. 13 of them to be precise. So I can go here and I can allow cookies. Now, when I press that button, boom, check it out. Now the truth is, this opened the little pop-up window for me, but the last time I had this problem, there was also a pop-up blocker installed, and so I had to correct for that as well. The biggest problem people have with installing the software is that they have a pop-up blocker on and they don't know it. Okay, so be very aware of that. Turn it off as you need to. But if you run into any trouble, contact the Tech Hub to help you out. And somewhere there in the week's content, I give you the information for how exactly to do that. Hold on. Where's my note? Oh, here it is. Let's see. Okay. Right. OneDrive. The one other thing I want to make sure to cover today, right now, is the OneDrive. I have added up at the top in the How It All Works section. Let's see. Let's go to the student view and make sure. Yeah. There is now a link here that says, hello, I'm a link to our OneDrive. The thing is, Canvas sucks in terms of turning work into me and also me being able to share files with you to work with. And so we won't use Canvas for turning assignments in. We'll be using the OneDrive instead. The OneDrive is basically it's kind of like a Google Drive, right? It's a shared place that we can all access. Now, to access that, You go up here to the top of Canvas where it says, hello, I am a link to our OneDrive. You click that link, and then you're going to come here to this window with sad face icon, Clark College, blah, blah, refuse to connect. Don't worry about that sad face. We're going to turn that frown upside down. You come up here to where it says, hello, I am a link to our OneDrive, and you click there. So you have to click, get the sad face, then you go up and you click again. And then, boom, here you are. Welcome to Art123 Winter 2022. This is a folder which is our place where you will turn stuff into me. I will be giving you stuff. For example, if you go into Stuff You Are Giving Sean, there's already a folder there that says Scavenger Hunt goes here. If you go into Stuff Sean is Giving You, there are already 2 folders in there. Each of those folders contain demo files that you can use to work along with the screencasts that I'm giving you about how to use Adobe Bridge. That's this one here, the basics. Download that folder to work with those files, and you're working right along with the video. This one here, Master Image Examples, we'll get to, I think it's 2 weeks away, that one. One thing I want to stress about the OneDrive is that the link that I give you here on the page, hello, I'm a link to our OneDrive, that link actually expires every 10 days. And so I'll just tell you right now, at some point, I will forget to copy a new link and replace it. And you'll try to get in there and you won't be able to. So let me apologize in advance for being a flake and forgetting to do that. And just hit me up. Send me a little message in the Canvas that tells me. And as soon as I can get to a computer, I will fix that problem. Okay? That's it. Let's see. I said my goal was 10 minutes for these videos, and this one is at 17, so I'm going to shut up. I think I hit most of the important things. If not, let me know. Use that discussion board. You guys are doing a great job at that. I love the fact that there's already at least 5, 6 questions there. Keep them coming. Anything that doesn't make sense, hit me with it, and I'll answer it as soon as I can. Okay, thanks.